Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday out there. My name is Andy Ferguson. Sitting next to me, how about that? It's Pastor Jeff Waterman.
Well, happy Thanksgiving on this Thanksgiving Thursday.
That's right. Happy Thanksgiving. That's good. Should we give the little hint that we're recording this particular episode a little bit ahead of time, so it's not actually Thanksgiving today?
Yeah, it's not actually Thanksgiving today, but by the time it's
air.
up there, it's on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this will air
So
on
I
Thanksgiving.
wonder, are people watching this as a warm-up to the Lions game?
Ooh, I don't. Maybe. You
Eating
got the blue
turkey?
on. You were thoughtful about that.
I could have worn my jersey. That would have been fun. If I was really thinking, I would have worn my jersey.
Yeah. Well, that's
I
awesome.
don't know. It's a scary game this week.
Who are they playing? Detroit Lions versus.
Green Bay Packers.
Whoa. That's.
And Lions need to win this one. This is a must win.
Good luck. Good luck, everybody out there, for the teams that you're rooting for and all
Go
that.
Lions.
Yes, absolutely. So here we are. It is episode 45, 45. Here we are. Promise pushes action.
There you go.
Yeah. The final sermon on our sermon series, Problem or Promise.
Yeah, we made it through. I remember when we were putting this together, we were thinking about it, and I'm like, well, gosh, what am I going to do? What are we going to do to take up all these times? What stories? And I've had a lot of fun. I hope people out there have had a lot of fun with it. I think it's, for me, it's always a challenging segment of Scripture, the whole story of the birth of the nation of Israel, God's people, starting with Abram. I just feel like there's so many ways that I shine through that. Like I'm reading it going, those people, they're knuckleheads. Oh, I guess that means I'm a knucklehead because I do the same thing they do.
That is so true. Yep.
It's been fun.
It really has been fun. It's been great to see all the generations, to see get this little recap or refresher on the spiritual fathers of the whole nation of Israel and how they all came to be, and seeing ourselves just like you said, in them. And that happened for me in particular in the sermon that I gave on Moses that one time at Exodus 3 and Exodus 4. I was just seeing myself all over it, and what a difficult time.
For sure, you walk away being more challenged than you think, and I think that's when you as a teacher, as a preacher, whatever, when you're up there and it's speaking to you, I think that comes across. The folks can feel it. The audience can be there. Like you're not just speaking at me, telling me what to do. You're living this as well. And I think anytime people can see that, I think they resonate better. They identify better. It's So, just let it speak to you, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that is strangely, but also in a benefit sort of a way to say, it's how God uses us as teachers. He often makes the message just really applicable for us and for ourselves, for our growth.
Oh, for sure. I mean, whether you're teaching or whether you're leading worship, right? I mean, if you're leading worship and you're just up there singing the song, no one's going to enter in with you. But if you're up there and you're worshiping, and when the song is contemplative, you can see that you're resonating with the words and you're letting it speak to you. And then when it's celebratory, you're doing the same. That brings people along because you're not just up there singing, you're up there worshiping.
That's right. Yeah. And part of what makes that quote unquote successful or authentic, I could say, is there's some preparedness. There's some preparation that has to come into the developing of the Sunday service. And people sometimes ask, why did you choose that song, or how do you guys come up with what sermon or what you're going to speak on at what time? But we have this preparedness time. We go into a season of preparation where we look at the upcoming sermon and we dive in. We say, okay, how can we live into what we're about to either be singing about or teaching about? And especially with music, music is able to traverse many lives and the different types of facets of what people are going through in their lives. So music is a great communicator, but it also is a great way to make things very personal for yourself. And the more that you can do that, the more it does communicate.
Yeah, it's a response, right? You hear from the Lord, and then you're compelled. When you hear from the Lord, you're compelled to respond. No one in the Bible, I love just looking at the meta-narratives and just the big picture. No one in the Bible, when God shows up, either an angel manifests himself or whatever, when God shows up, no one goes, well, that's kind of nice. They're like trembling in fear. They're like dancing. They're like, there's a response to that. So music is a great way to respond, great way for us to corporately respond to a God that's been moving in our heart, hopefully as we've dove into the God's word. That's kind of the idea, right?
Yeah, yeah. So as this was the culmination of that sermon series, Problem or Promise, and the idea once again was, which one are you focusing on? The many problems in your lives or the many promises that God has already placed into your life?
For sure.
Yeah. And so the culmination of that actually was in our reflection as well, where
Right.
we walked away with a large stone. And part of that, I actually had the opportunity on Sunday actually to do the reflection in person, right?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Tell me how.
well, yeah. So basically, I guess we're jumping all over the place here for this podcast, but let's just dive right in. We're going to go for it. The reflection element was to take one of the stones. It was a large stone, once again, on our reflection tables, and then just bring that home. You placed it on your kitchen table or wherever that you might be having Thanksgiving today on Thursday. and then when people ask, hey, what are these stones for on your table? Then you have a reason to explain to them what happened in Joshua 3. And that's where we were living in Sunday's sermon, right?
Yeah. So why is that such a cool reflection? Why is that even appropriate? You're just talking about being prepared. Like, how can we live into this? So why did we come up with that? What was the impetus?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So as Israel, the people are about to be crossing from the wilderness of sin,
Right.
into the promised land, the land that was promised to them. It was actually promised to Abraham way back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years earlier. And so they're at the precipice of the Jordan River, and it's at flood stage. And what do they have to do? God says, well, you guys have to actually cross over the river to get into the promised land, the land that is flowing with milk and honey and so on. And so this time was different from the previous time where God had them crossing over a large body of water. And the Red Sea incident, God actually separated the waters first, and then they stepped in and went through the Red Sea. And this particular portion of scripture in Joshua 3, they were actually called, the Levitical priests, they were called to step into the river. And when the soles of their feet touched the ground, the riverbed, that's when God stopped the river upstream and was able to then create maybe a wall of water, as you mentioned on Sunday. And so there's this boldness. They have to step in before they see God actually moving, and then they do it. Okay, so the whole 2 million Israelites cross over the river. They get to the other side, and God says, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a way for you guys to remember that this happened, and a way for your kids and their kids and the generations after to know that something big happened here, that God moved, and you have a way to actively remember what God has done in your lives. So he sends them back, a couple of them, it was the heads of the tribes, into the river once more to pick up large stones, put them onto their shoulders and carry them across, build an altar. And God always says, when you're making an altar, by the way, to use unhewn stones. So that's not stones that have been chiseled by people. These are stones that God made himself, and then humans didn't pollute, right? And so you build the altar there, and it says that when the generations come by, when your kids ask, hey, what are these stones here for? Then you could tell them what happened.
Yeah, I thought it was a great way to bring that through, and good explanation. And I just, sometimes people ask, well, why does the well do reflection? And Sunday we said, because God does reflection. I mean, that's what it was. Yeah. We went through this cool thing. You just heard from God. You just did it. Now reflect on what it means. Reflect on the importance of it. Remember that God upheld his promises. Remember that God is faithful. Remember. And then not just for you, but for everybody else.
Yep.
And so that's reflection. God, they did reflection right there. We did it on Sunday. And it's cool that we get to do that. And it'll be interesting to hear some of the conversations that maybe have come out as a result of piles of rocks on people's countertops.
Right, exactly. So what happened was, on Sunday, I'm driving, and I've got my wife in this seat next to me, and I've got this large stone in my cup holder, because she's about to put her water bottle into the cup holder. Well, what is this? What do you have a huge rock here for? So I had a chance to explain to her the whole situation and our reflection and so on. She's like, oh, that's really nice. I like that. Yeah.
Cool.
It's cool. Yeah. So very, very cool, guys. And then there was actually a second portion of that reflection where you asked people to write something down onto that rock that was impactful throughout, anything that was like super impactful throughout the entire sermon series, Problem or Promise. And did you have a chance to write anything down on a rock?
No.
Yeah, I was a little bit too busy actually going up onto stage as well, so I didn't. But I had thought about it. What would I have written down? And it probably would have been the most impactful of all of the messages for me was the promise produces boldness one. And, I think it really comes down to like an understanding that in our weaknesses, right, then God has the greatest chance for his strength to come through and for us to recognize his strength coming through. In our brokenness, when we cannot possibly do it on our own, we must then rely on God. That's how he wired us to be. And I think that is just like, yeah, it kind of stinks that that's how we are. Like, okay, we can't do it on ourselves. We have to actually be relational. We have to ask others for help and things like that. But it's a blessing. And it is definitely the way that God ordained it to be, because he always draws us closer to him. It just kind of stinks that it requires us either being really sick or really tired or really weak.
Some calamity to be at us.
Exactly.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the things that I struggle with as somebody that plans, and you do the all the different personality tests, and I always come back like the one that's always looking, saying like, what's next, right? So I'm the kind of guy that'll be sitting on vacation thinking about my next vacation.
Wow.
Like planning that out. Like, okay, so I get it. It's October, but what are we going to do in February? And my wife looks at me and says, "Can you just enjoy the one we're on?" Well, no, because I gotta do this one, right? So that's just who I am. I do a lot of planning. I have a nickname called Binder Boy because I travel with a binder that has everything in it, and people look at me like you're nuts, and I am. I'm a little crazy, but so that's who I am. And for me, I see all of the times that perhaps a planner, perhaps someone that wanted all the details in the story, whether it's Moses trying to lead, you run him through he runs God through all the details. Well, what do I say? Who do I say sent me? I can't do this. How do I speak? He's going down all of the details, and God basically says, don't worry about it. I got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in life, as I'm trying to, whether it's lead the well or anything else, realize that, hey, God can give us a vision, but he doesn't have to give us every detail. And I don't have to know what's going to happen in January. I don't have to know what's going to happen in February. But what I have to do is be attentive to what is God saying now, and then cling to the promise that he's the one going to execute this. He's the one that's going to carry the weight, not me. And I like to carry the weight. I like to tell God he can take a break right now, and I got it for him. And I've sensed sometimes he looks at me and says, yeah, you don't have it. So let me carry it. And so that's for me, the big thing is, hey, it's on me. Yeah. It's not on you.
That's good. In a sense, that's kind of like slowing down a little bit.
It's everything. It's slowing down. It's being patient. It's releasing control. I mean, it's so many faceted, and he must look at me and go, what did I do when I made you? You're kind of a pain in the neck, but but just living in the idea that he made me a particular way, and that there's part of me, the strengths are strengths when in healthy ways. I don't know if you've ever done anything with somebody that doesn't plan anything, and you're like, so you invite us over to lunch and there's no food? I mean, like what were you thinking, right? So planning is good when it's healthy, and being looking forward is good when it's healthy, but there's a shadow side to it.
Oh, for sure.
There's a shadow side that everything's got to be dealt with. You've always got to be in control. So today, Thanksgiving, which is actually a couple of days from when we're doing this, we're going over to my sister-in-law's house, and I said, what can I bring? Now, normally I cook everything, right?
Yeah.
And she says, bring salad and rolls. That's it?
Where's the challenge?
And she says, no, I just want you to enjoy Thanksgiving. I know, but what about? She says, I don't know. And for me, that's the hard part. Like, I want to hold on to that rather than just release and go, okay.
Right. She's like, take a load off for once. Yeah. Actively wait, perhaps. Yeah.
Hey, somebody said that this Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm getting to. So, I was actually just reminded, though, of our Psalm Summer Sermon Series, which was one of those that just came to mind was the be still and know that I am God. And when we are actively waiting, or when we are just simply waiting,
Right.
it can be hard to do that, just to be still and to be a little bit rested perhaps, and to, well, yeah, wait on the Lord. In Lamentations, I believe it says that it's a good thing to wait on the Lord's salvation.
Oh, for sure. We, so Sunday, the title was, promise pushes action. And that you referenced the idea that they had to step in this time before God would stop the waters, where it was a little same but different from the Red Sea. And so we looked at the fact that the action that gets pushed is, there's three actions that we have to do. We have to actively wait. We have to actively look. And then we have to actively remember. That was the whole reflection thing.
Yep.
And so waiting sometimes doesn't feel very action oriented. And if you're an action oriented person, waiting feels a whole lot more like
Restless.
wasted time than anything. But, he comes out of the gate, Joshua comes out of the gate in Joshua 3 and says, they're here 3 days. And talking about here's how it's going to work out. And then he says in verse 5, then Joshua said to consecrate yourself. Get ready.
Make yourselves holy.
Yeah. And the first part is washing us, this cleansing. And if you go back into Exodus, Moses said the same thing, consecrate yourself before we go across and all this, before God's going to show himself on the mountain. And he talks about consecrating. And one of the very first things they do is wash their clothes. Like it's the outer is always this sense of reflection of the inner, right? Like as you prepare, get rid of the crud, get rid of all of the dirt and the grime and the stuff that's holding you back. And it's interesting that it starts with wash your clothes, and in the New Testament, Paul talks about putting on new clothes.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this idea that hey, when we're waiting, when things aren't moving as fast as we want it, that is a time for us to prepare, not just go clean the house, but to clean ourselves. Take a look at ourselves. What is it that I need to clean up? What is it in my world that's not ready for God to engage with and get it ready?
Yeah, absolutely. That waiting doesn't have to be a waste of time. It's actually a time that can be used to prepare, to ready yourself. And that's what you were saying on Sunday, readying for the future. So I was actually kind of like thinking about this a little bit further, and there are some things that we could do. Like in this Overflow podcast, we sometimes go to a bit of a practical overflow. We say like, how can we better do this in our own time? Or what can we do to quote unquote, redeem the time that is wasted, quote unquote, that we're just simply waiting. And I was reminded immediately of, I think it was just this past year, I had a car accident, and then I took some time into like some physical therapy, and then part of that was thankfully so with some chiropractic things. One of them was a bed where I just got to lay on this bed, and the rollers were happening, and the hydro, all that stuff, right? But I'm laying there, and literally I'm awake. It's the middle of the day. I'm doing this thing, and I'm just laying there for like 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm waiting for the time, but. I really enjoyed that, and I learned. So here's the thing: waiting is a skill, right? And a skill can always be strengthened or improved how you do that thing. The same thing with patience, right? You can grow your patience, so you can become better at the waiting. And so maybe the first couple times that I was in that hydro bed or doing these things in the waiting room for the doctor, so on, as you mentioned on Sunday. Yeah, you're like, okay, what I got stuff to do. What's going on? When is this going to happen? But then eventually you're like, you come into this acceptance. I'm going to be here for this certain amount of time. I'm going to be sitting watching that train go by for as long as it's going to take.
Right.
And whatever God says that it's going to take that time, And so you can redeem that time. And there's some things that we could do, right? So like meditation, right? Go in prepared, right? Have a certain verse or a certain phrase or a song on your mind and just ruminate on that over and over, or use it as a time of prayer, right? Speaking to God. So what are some things maybe that you do when you're feeling like, man, I know that I'm going to be here for a certain amount of time. I'm going to do this instead of, I don't know, blanking out.
Yeah, I mean, all of those things. So the nice thing I used to carry before everything was digital, I used to always carry a book with me.
Okay.
No matter where I went, I had a book. So if I sat down and it was like, hey, it's going to be 10 extra minutes or 15 extra minutes, I might read that book, whatever it is, sacred romance or whatever, right? Just and it wasn't a study book. Like I classify different books. I have entertainment books, right? Those are books that I just like to read because they're fun.
Sure.
Right. Then there's study books. Those are the books that you use to really pull out here. And then there's like encouragement or self-help or just overall life skill books that are designed. So that's the kind of book I would carry around. Now I just carry my Kindle with me, and I've got the Bible with me. I've got all my books with me, and so I do that a lot. Just it's an opportunity. When the train stopped us, we put the car in park, and it's just Kathy and I. And when life happens so fast, and it was just, all right, we're going to take this time to chat a little bit.
Yeah.
Because now we're both here, right?
Right.
All right. I'm here with you. So sometimes it's, who are you with?
Yeah.
Right? Connect that way. Is there something that you can read, something you can take? Or if you don't have any of that, it's just, I love the times where I can stop and say, all right, God, what do you have for me? Mm-hmm. And because I'm pretty skilled at telling him what I need him to do for me.
Yeah.
But the skill I need to press into is listening. What does he have for me? And so when I get those times where I've got to wait, I'm behind a train or get stuck at a light or in a waiting room, I'll do that a lot. All right, God, what do you got for me?
Yeah. So that's the thing. You can wait well, or you can wait poorly. And we actually just witnessed in our previous sermons about the Israelites waiting poorly. They were grumbling during the waiting rather than prayer or hopeful or worship or whatever it can be. So you can wait well. And that's kind of a way of like tolerating stillness, right? And getting better at rest, which is another thing. Sabbath, rest, and
I find in the Bible we don't have to be commanded to do things we do naturally. We have to be commanded to do things we don't do. So when God says, be still, know that I am the Lord, keep the Sabbath day holy, it's not because we're already good at it. They're not reminders to do what we're doing. It's commands to do what we normally don't do.
Exactly. Yeah. So I actually, I had some, again, thinking about this particular subject here, and one of the things that helped me to be able to wait better, to get better at waiting, or to be better at being patient through things, or simply selflessness, right? One of those things is a dopamine detox. And this is like a very simple thing, and people are like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. But like, if you can find ways to be on your phone less or social media less, or these like high stimulation activities, they kind of create within you this like anxiousness or a restlessness, right? So restlessness, the opposite of that, where you're like, you need to go faster, you need to accomplish something else, or you're having your coffee while doing something else, while looking at this, flipping, and that actually breeds more of that in your life. But if you can find ways to separate yourself and do a little detox from those things, you'll actually get better at the waiting. You'll feel a sense of calm or peace come over you, a sense that maybe you don't have so much that you need to accomplish throughout the day, because those things that you thought you had to accomplish was just scrolling through your social media posts and things like that. So to practice I guess increasing your ability to sit in stillness, you want to engage in long attention requiring activities like puzzles, or like you were saying, reading books are really good things, journaling, going for a long walk, gardening, maybe an instrument. These are things that require a long sense of attention, but at the same time, the rewards for those things come with a lengthened amount of time as well. And I like to use the phrase for it, the incremental growth, right? So like with gardening, these are things, the way that God made it is you don't harvest the same day that you're planting the seeds.
Right. So, yeah, which is a great segue to our question.
Please, yes. I'll read it if you want me. I'll read it.
Yeah, read the question, because I think it's the whole idea of gardening and harvesting and that is, I think, feeds into, we got a question. So thanks for the question, Mike. We appreciate it.
I'm glad that you were reading where I was going with this, actually. It was very good. So the question is, what does it mean to live abundantly? Is this like private jets, mansions? The prosperity gospel type teachers may say that it's more of this like a personal thing or a situational type thing, living abundantly. But does it actually mean to live abundantly? And what does that look like in modern times?
Yeah, we reference that a lot. Here at The Well, our mission is helping you bring life to life. And that comes out of John chapter 10, where he says, the thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy, but I come that they may have life and life abundantly. And so we have to step back and ask, well, what does Jesus mean when he's talking about abundantly? The word there, the Greek word there, literally means to overflow or uncontainable. So when I've taught on that verse before, I use an object lesson where I take a glass and a big pitcher and I just pour water, and then I keep pouring water in it. I don't stop. And pretty soon it freaks everybody out because it spills all over the floor, and then they think they have to go clean it up and all that kind of stuff. But the idea is, if the cup is our life, God's going to pour life into our cup. And that cup can't contain it because his pitcher is so much greater. Mm-hmm. So then the question becomes, well, what is that abundance? Right. And we often think of abundance as having a lot of something. Right. And so in our world that is driven primarily by the material, our biggest hurdle is, I think, dealing with the material versus the eternal. Right. So we tend to worship, or we tend to live in the things of created, and in the United States, highly consumeristic, highly money driven. Mm-hmm. Money is generally seen as an abundant life. So no one says, man, I hope one day to grow up and be poor. Right? Everybody hopes to grow up and be rich. Mm-hmm. Right? That's why when I drive down the road and I see the lottery signs, the Mega Millions, the Powerball, and all that stuff, and they're, it's $750 million, and I go, it's not worth playing yet. It's got to get over $1 billion, right? Like, who am I kidding, right? And why do so many people want to play that? Because we want to get rich. Is that what Jesus is talking about?
It's the American dream.
It's what Americans are talking about, but I don't think that that's what Jesus is talking about.
Correct.
I think he's talking about, he says life abundant, not financially abundant, life abundant. And then so if you go over to John chapter 15, he gives this picture of producing fruit. Because when I think of abundance, I also think of harvest, which is why I went here from your gardening thing, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you have an abundant harvest, that means you planted tomatoes. Like I love when people are gardening and then they plant tomatoes, and then by the time August rolls around, September rolls around, they're like giving all their tomatoes away because they can't possibly eat all these tomatoes in time.
That's so true.
Right?
Yeah.
Tomatoes and cucumbers. I feel like I get a lot of tomatoes and cucumbers. That must be a really easy thing to grow because everybody's got a ton of them and they're giving them away, right? That's an abundant harvest. When you look at the tomato plant and all the branches are bent over because there's just tomatoes everywhere, mm-hmm, right? That's an abundant harvest. And so he talks about bearing fruit in John chapter 15. He says, abide in me and you'll bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing, right? So what fruit is he talking about? Well, I think Paul tells us. He gives us the fruit of the Spirit.
Yep.
Notice I said one fruit, not fruits.
Yep, I hear you.
He says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Mm-hmm. The way I look at the abundant life, when we talk about it here at the well, it's not how much money you have. It is how much of that fruit is being produced in your life. And that as we are connected with Jesus, as we are connected with that vine of John 15, we produce fruit overflowing abundantly. We have an abundance of love that overflows. I experience so much love from God and that it spills over to others. I feel so much love from God that I can fall in love with myself. All the dirt, all the gold, all the crud, all the great about me I can love just as he loved me, so that it empowers me to love others. Joy is no longer situational, like, well, I'm really joyful because my bank account is full, or I'm really not joyful because my bank account is empty.
Right.
Every month it would be up and down. It would be like, when I get my paycheck, my bank account is full. When I pay my bills, my bank account is empty. So no, it's transitional. Why? Because at the end of the day, I'm joyful because I know the God that loves me is going to provide for me. Whether I have $1 million in my bank account or $1 in my bank account.
That's right. Yeah. Happiness is circumstantial, but joy is
Right. It's
Transcendent?
transcendent, right? It perseveres. It
Yes.
stays there no matter what. Love, joy, peace. The whole problem promise scenario. We can have peace because in the midst of the biggest problems, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's your local government's doing something that you just can't stand and so it just ticks you off, or you're really angry at this political person, or you just lost your job. There's a person in our church that lost their job. They knew it was coming, companies closing or whatever. And I'm just shocked at their peace. They're like, yeah, all right, well, God got me this one, he'll get me the next one. And so, this peace that, and I've also seen people lose their job and they freak out like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
Right.
So that's the abundant life when we have so much love and joy and peace. You talked about patience. Oh, how many of you are patient? Like, I'm not. Maybe some of you are really patient. I'm like terrible, but I'm more patient now than I was 10 years ago than and was 30 years ago, because the joy and the peace and the patience are increasing, so that it can overflow.
Yep.
Kindness. We could all use a big dose of kindness in our world right now, right? That overflows. So this idea of abundant life is the fruit of the Spirit becoming so real, so present, so cultivated in our life that it does just that. It overflows. I can't contain it anymore. That's the abundant life.
Yeah, I love that. That's very good. I want to also kind of correlate that to our last week's sermon, which was when Moses was handing off his successionship over to Joshua to take over leading the people. And he said, choose life and good, not, or rather your other choice is death and evil.
Right.
And so that abundant life is life that is of good things, and good things are from God. All the things that are good come from God. And the wages of sin is death. So that would say, evil, death, sin, those things, not good things, not it's abundant death, right? So it's like, what are you going to choose? Abundant life or abundant death, right? Life in good or death in evil. I also love that you mentioned that you're better at being patient now than you were 20 or 30 years ago. I think that is true for anybody who is a spirit-filled Christian in regards of the sanctification process. And we can read in 2 Peter as well, chapter 1, where it says that if these things are found to you and to be increasing, and he's talking about many things that are similar to the fruits of the Spirit. It's like virtue and godliness and brotherly affection and so on and so forth, the endurance and things like that. If they're found to be within you and increasing, then that person will not falter, and the gates of heaven will be opened up for that person. It's like a checklist. Like, hey, I don't want to say like, if you're not finding yourself to be patient, you're not a born-again believer. No, it's a work. So you're better than you were, right? I'm better now than I was 20 years ago. That's incremental growth. That's increasing.
Yeah. Hebrews 6:1 says, let us leave the elementary teachings of Christ behind and be moved toward maturity.
Yeah.
And so that's what life is. It's moving towards maturity, moving toward how God wants us to be fruit bearers, if you will, and allowing that fruit to go. And if you think about the people that have a lot of wealth, I don't know that I would characterize all of them by love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Right. I just don't. The scandals, the words you get, the lifestyle, it just doesn't fit that. Yeah. And so the abundant life that Jesus talks about transcends the idea of material. And it goes into what is eternal, lasting, a life that overflows. And when you're around somebody that just overflows with life, it's a different place to be. It's a different feeling. It's a different environment. I remember when we were over in South Sudan, and these folks didn't have a lot of money at all. It's the poorest country on the planet, last I checked. And we got to meet people like Yai, that quite frankly, he was like, he didn't have a whole lot, but man, he was filled with life. And so how can the abundant life be tied to material when this person has it and he has no material?
That's exactly the point.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so true. And in fact, it is almost always said, like, people go across to other countries, third, second world countries, whatever it is, and they often do seem to be happier, or they got less to worry about, like less things that are going to break or whatever else.
Well, they got a lot to worry about because,
sure. Yeah.
I mean, the worry is there, but again, their focus isn't on the material, the money. They've got to focus on something else and trust that God's going to carry them through. Cool story. I know we're up against it, but when we were there, I'll tell the story on a Sunday morning.
Oh, okay. Save it for Sunday.
Save it for Sunday. I just remembered. I'm like, I got to say this on Sunday morning.
That's good. See, he's already preparing for Sunday. That's good use of your time waiting.
Yeah. I'm just not real patient.
Right.
I want to say it right now.
Consecrate yourself. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, and what I meant by they have less to worry about is like they have actual less things in their possession to worry about. Like the more things that I have, like the more items, the more I'm like, oh, where's that thing? Oh, I lost that thing. That thing broke.
I would say they have less distraction.
Yeah, there you go. That's very good. So let's close it up with this. I've got Isaiah 40:31. Isaiah 40, verse 31. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Okay, so why not, like we kind of said earlier, speak to God and then wait like 20 or 30 seconds, right? Just wait and see what the answer might be. And you might be surprised, folks.
Or all day. What if you got up in the morning and said, God, I want to hear from you today?
Yeah.
And give him like the whole day.
There you go.
And then at the end of the day, say, what did I hear from God today?
Mm-hmm. That's a good way. That's a good check in and then check out at the end. Very good. So our next sermon, though, is, guess what, guys? We're launching into our Advent sermon series.
That's right. Whose story in the unexpected?
That's
next
right.
week.
Yep. So our whole Advent sermon series is titled Whose Story? And then each of the 4 weeks will have a different title. And the unexpected is in reference to Mary and Joseph finding out, oh, it's unexpected. You're going to have a baby.
Yep.
It's going to be the God of maker of creation and father of all things. Like, what are you talking about? That's crazy.
I'm not sure that Joseph was expecting that. In fact, I'm pretty sure he wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's coming up this November 30th as we launch into Christmas and that fun. So, folks, we'll be looking forward to seeing you then. Thanks for listening to us today. And thanks for our question as well. Feel free to ask more questions. We'd love to answer those.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. See you guys.